My colleague Karsten and I made this talk to hopefully show you some interesting aspects of our cloud storage deployment at a much smaller scale. So, at first I will talk a little bit about statistics. Then I like to show you what is special about our deployment. And finally, I want to show us some possibilities to join efforts. So, as you can see here, we currently have around 18 million objects from our storage solution that occupy 9 terabytes of data with 1,500 users. I have to say that we don't do any advertising yet because we are still not productive. We are in a kind of a pilot phase because of organizational issues. We are ready from a technical point of view. And we estimate a raise in space usage of about 30 to 80 gigabytes per day. What are we using for our cloud storage? We are using CFI Professional, currently in version 6. Why are we using CFI Professional and not the Community Edition? Primarily because we want to use the Ceph backend, are happy to gain other features that are only available in the Professional Edition, and of course we really are happy to have support from CFI RTD. We are running virtualized on OpenStack. We are the first service that is running on our OpenStack installation. That came with Ceph as a storage backend, but we are not virtualizing the database. Here we are using our central single database server, which is good enough for us, and that way we don't have to care about potential issues that could arise if we are running a database on our own in a virtualized environment. For authentication, we use Shibboleth 2 on the one hand for our local users, and for guests, we are in the progress of supporting guests. Here we are targeting at first the DFN-AAA, the German Federation, and after that it could be really interesting to support EduGain too. But even if we are supporting EduGain, there will be some external people that our researchers want to collaborate with that are not in these federations. So we are planning to support generic local guest accounts using the invitation feature of CFI. But there's another problem currently. Because of the local privacy laws at Berlin, or of the views of our privacy officer, how he interprets the laws, we need to all our users to accept the terms and conditions. And there we currently have a self-made solution which only works with Shibboleth, so local users won't work. We are blocking them. There is now a solution for terms and conditions embedded into CFI. We are very happy about it, but we want to be really sure that the user has to accept. And currently, you could use CFI without accepting terms and conditions if you would only use the clients. Thomas already talked about Shibboleth affiliation that can be mapped to CFI roles. Very interesting feature, but that happens quite often to me. I was a little bit early and this feature wasn't ready yet, so I wrote a small patch that simply applies the guest role to all external users by default, which is enough for our use case. So we are probably using that in the future too. We have to think about it. Since we are targeting external users, we need to have some kind of discovery service for Shibboleth. Here we decided to go with the embedded discovery service provided by the Shibboleth community. It's a JavaScript app, and to better integrate this into our CFI installation, I wrote a small Django app. Django is a framework that is used for the web front end of C-File. Talking about user management, especially at C-File, you have to think about or have to take care of the authentication tokens that is used by the client. So on first login with the client, you obtain an authentication token, and after that, this authentication token is used. So if we don't invalidate the tokens, the user is completely decoupled from the central authentication server. That's not such a good idea. Here is a small picture of our setup, of our deployment. Here you can see a load balancer pair, virtualized VMs of our proxy, an active-passive setup with a virtual IP managed by Pacemaker. We are an OpenStack, so we could have used load balancer as a service, but it wasn't flexible enough for our demands. You are really you have only a small portion of options if you use load balancer as a service and stuff. If you have bigger demands, you have to do something on your own. Then you can here see the classic C-File setup with the worker nodes and the background node. Perhaps I can add to what Thomas already said, that background node is for advanced features, background features like file index for the full text search, file preview, and sending emails. Here we are staying with Apache as web server, but since we are currently using SSL decryption at the load balancer, we needed to add a small proxy to support Shibboleth. Yes, the only component at our setup that isn't high available today at the moment is a memcached. I will talk later about that. And here's a not virtualized component, the database. So, concerns. I really like the idea to talk about the concerns you have. At first, backup and restore. We are having 3 copies of each object stored with our cloud storage solution in Ceph, but Ceph could possibly crash. It's kind of a RAID system if you want it. So we are replicating this into a file system backend representation. So each object is a file in our storage area network. But replication is quite fast. So it could be that some errors are propagated to the replication layer. And just to be sure, we are making a backup on tape of all objects. But it's the possibility, the chance is small. But I think we will have a problem if we need to restore, because restore from tape with such many objects, 60 million, and we are growing, will take a really long time. Here, one problem I see is that we are not able to distinguish between important research data of some working groups and a library where some user simply collects its movies. Perhaps there are some improvements possible. Memcached, I'm not sure. I did a little bit research, and to my knowledge, Memcached isn't made Memcached cluster with high availability in mind, but it's more to improve memory usage and share load. So, in my opinion, there are problems, or there can be problems when not when a memcache node is gone, then everything is rebalanced, but when it comes back, there could be possible problems when objects change. In C-File, normally objects don't change, but I'm not sure if this is true for the future. and I'm not sure which objects are stored in memcached. It is used for some parts of the code. So our idea currently is to simply make an active-passive setup with pacemaker again. The demands of the memcache installation aren't that big. And finally, storing the data is clear, making backups is clear, but you really have to care about deleting the data. I think some of us are getting early in production. We are production ready, kind of, but deletion of user data is still an issue. And here, especially, you have to care about the user's personal data versus collaborative data. In C-file, every library belongs to user. And I can't distinguish if this is simply research helper stuff. I don't know what this is in English. HIVI, SHK, a student working for the professor that created the library on behalf of the whole working group, and then it belongs to him, and then he leaves the university, and we possibly delete the library, and then the work group isn't happy. And the question is, from a legal perspective, am I allowed to restore the data and give it to somebody else? Here it's needed to distinguish. So, joint efforts. How do we get what we have? We are using Ansible for deployment, and we have put this on GitHub. We would be happy if this helps anybody that likes to use C-file, of course. Yes, the goal is to join efforts. On the one hand, that somebody uses our codes, and on the other hand, that you file bugs or possible pull requests. The goal is, of course, to be flexible and extensible. So we are mainly doing the stuff we use for ourselves. But if you have another use case, you can adapt it. And it's hopefully making your way easier to get the production cluster running. Currently, we focus on Ubuntu. Further collaboration. There are two small projects I want to introduce to you. Only recently, I had the need to write some Python API script. C-file has two possibilities to interact with it. One is a web API that is used by the client, but the Python API lets you do more things, a lot of more things. So here I am trying to establish a small collection of scripts that could help users to operate a C-file installation. And then I, a few days ago, wrote some scripts, especially for the Ceph backend of C-file, that could be interesting for someone. And last but not least, there's the C-file educational user community since 2015. We are doing regular meetings of the academic users of C-file and the C-file developers. We have a community forum. If you're interested, please ask Karsten. And the next workshop will be in September. Yes. So I'm finished. Thanks for your attention.
So thank you very much for your interesting contribution from Humboldt University, and I believe there are some questions. No questions? Great. So I have a question, only a very simple one. When do you want to get started with Box? Because you told us you have some organizational issues. So what are the issues?
Issues is that there were problems with using our C-file installation if you have disabilities, if you can't see. I'm not really sure with the language, English language words in this area. And it's somehow a problem of how this is done at our university. So if the the one testing this has somehow misconfigured setup at his PC. And it's not working there, but it's working on other stations. And he says, no, it's not working at my PC. And then blocks it. Then we aren't allowed to make it productive. But we are working on it, but there are the one that was doing this is retired, and then we have to wait for the new people, and so on.
So thank you.